Greetings, everybody. Your Cambrian moment this week is coming from the premises of the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution of the World Economic Forum here in the beautiful Presidio in San Francisco. This week's conversation here will focus on two very important meetings that have taken place, attended by around 400 people from around the world, a very diverse, very international crowd, very multidisciplinary. The first meeting was the Global AI Governance Alliance, dedicated to exactly that, governing artificial intelligence in terms of responsible technology development, but also regulation and, of course, industry and organizational transformation. The second meeting was the Global Technology Retreat, and that is a more broadly focused conversation for 2 more days on how AI is converging on other technologies around the world and what's happening with that. So very, very exciting conversations here, attended by fairly high caliber and high powered people with very interesting things to say. I'm going to try to distill a few of the themes that were discussed here. Of course, it's impossible to completely unpack this in just a couple of minutes, but let me try nonetheless, right? So the first theme is, not surprisingly, that of course we need to watch the ROI, the return on investment of the current hype around artificial intelligence. I won't dwell very long on this. You have heard me talk about this in last week's Cambrian moment, as well as other posts that I have issued there on LinkedIn and Twitter and elsewhere. But the question of, what are we going to achieve with this in terms of both economic as well as social impact? Of course, there's many ways to measure return on investment. And there's also many ways in which this could pan out, right? So an important point made today is that the current hype is assuming a very positive picture around artificial intelligence, with some of the numbers I have mentioned before that are overhyped, given that many people are not yet seeing the ROI around the world, and that a resulting meltdown a la the SiliconValley.com bust in the year 2000 is a decided risk. That is one scenario in which this could end, or into which this could develop. Another scenario is, of course, that this bust will lead to a much healthier AI economy, just like today we have a much healthier internet after the dot-com bubble burst. So those are just two plausible scenarios here, and there are many more that one could develop. So what we have to do is really be prepared for the outliers, the black swans, as they say, the gray rhinos. Pick your favorite color and your favorite animal. But clearly, we have to have strategies and approaches to developing AI and applying AI that are robust, right, against various scenarios, not just the two most publicized and discussed ones. Okay, topic number 2 is the importance of leadership, vision, but also inspiration for the transformation of societies and organizations. Clearly, people are afraid. Many people are afraid when it comes to artificial intelligence, for some right reasons and many of the wrong reasons, right? And so, fears around, let's say, job losses or Terminator, Skynet, the militarization of every AI technology, etc., may appeal to the side of our brain that is easily entertained and watches out for risks and threats, but also often not quite warranted. That does not mean they are irrational, and I think we as leaders have to understand that fear is not irrational. It may be an emotion, but it's a very important emotion that has taught us throughout human history to avoid catastrophe. And so we as leaders who are aiming at transformation need to address that fear. So vision, yes, but also working constructively with people in the organizations to address their fears. Very important. The next area then is highlighted by this point, and that is the area of convergence. What happens when artificial intelligence converges on neuroscience, on brain science, on medical research, on, let's say, traffic management, to pick something very prosaic, as it were, and of course on other areas like agriculture, climate, natural resource exploration, logistics and supply chains. What are the second and third order effects of that convergence? Of course, there's many, many more areas of high tech and non-tech that AI will be converging on. And so we need to figure out what those effects are. So we have to pay attention to that. Many people are not good at that because we are not training our professionals, business executives included, very well in systems thinking. We are very much beholden to a very linear way of thinking about the most plausible scenario and the proverbial hockey stick of ever greater returns and growth. And so we have to get better at system dynamics thinking and teach it from the ground up in high school and onward. The last point is global access. What does that mean? Well, for one, the question of whether countries that are not in the leading cohort around AI development should be developing their own foundation models, or at the very least, their own application layer on top of other countries' foundation models. And there, of course, the United States and China are leading, and mostly the United States. So do we want to rely on that for countries, let's say, like Rwanda or Malaysia or others around the world who don't quite have the accumulated cash, compute power, and talent just yet? Or do we want to start developing that to develop our own indigenous capabilities to do right by the local value systems? Then, of course, there's the question around standards and potential loopholes around the world. You all saw my last post on the agreement that 16 different global companies involved in AI development have reached with governments, select governments around the world in Seoul, Korea, at the AI Seoul Summit, vowing to not develop any solutions, AI solutions that could do serious harm. Now, in order for that to hold, you have to develop teeth for that kind of agreement, and you have to make sure that you have global standards that ensure that there is no triaging or arbitraging, I should say, of different loopholes around the world. And then thirdly, under this banner of global access, there is the issue of the global south, right? The global south does not yet have the digital infrastructure, the data pools, the talent pools to really have a concerted voice in the global AI economy. That needs to change. We all need to help. There is lots and lots of development potential there, but also lots of pain points to address. And again, we have to be culturally appropriate in our AI development. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next week.